takes and go ahead and react to this Colin Cowherd video where Colin Cowherd has a message for guys who wear their hats backwards. All right.
Speaking of Russell Wilson, there is a picture out there where he has his hat on backwards. It's
not
a practice
Wilson
uniform, and he probably just walked out of the locker room, and he's got a hat on backwards, probably a walk-through before a game, and everybody's like, oh, Colin, Russell Wilson's got his hat on backwards. You can wear your hat on backwards. Yesterday, at the very end of my show, I talked about wearing your hat on backwards. And fans ripped me. It was very hurtful. I did not sleep last night. Barely closed my eyes. It was very painful. But I'm going to double down on something I've always believed. And when I saw Carson Wentz with his hat on backwards after another bad performance and bad loss, standing in front of the proud Eagles, banner, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. Let me just ask you something. Because I believe in...
Already right there. This is getting weird where he's like, I stayed all night because fans called me out for Russell Wilson wearing a backwards hat. It's like, you're losing sleep over this? Like, come on. This is getting a little bit cartoonish.
You're just being kind of cringe.
Yeah.
Life, time and place and location and assignment matter.
It's like, who are you talking to?
There are certain things you just wouldn't wear if you were introduced to the Pope. Or the president.
What?
Time, place, location.
You just compared an NFL press conference to meeting the Pope.
Yeah. Let's go.
Assignment matters. If you want to wear a hat on backwards in your garage, in your yard, if you want to wear it at the beach, at the gym, in your car, I don't care. Never really care. Right. In fact, Joy is my witness. I don't care if you ever wear it backwards as a baseball player, as a basketball player. I mean, baseball players wear hats all the time. What do I care?
Don't wear hats while they play.
I don't even care if you wear it backwards as a linebacker in football, a cornerback.
What I don't understand about this take is what's the difference between a $1 billion MLB franchise and a $1 billion NFL franchise? Like, if he's the star of your team, it doesn't matter whether or not it's for the NFL, NBA, or MLB. The only difference is the reach.
Yeah, and then he mentioned he only cares, like, I don't care if it's a linebacker or a corner. And then he's like, if you're an NFL quarterback, you can't wear your hat backwards. And then people are like, what about Russell Wilson, who was wearing his hat backwards in practice? And he was like talking about the gym, in your car. Like, you can't do it in a public situation, like even in practice. And he's like, oh, how could you guys call me out on my double standard? It's like, I lost sleep over it. Like, isn't your audience like pretty much like 50 to 60 year olds? Like, I don't get what demographic he's talking to. Are there a bunch of 50-year-olds like, I do agree players shouldn't wear their hats backwards in press conferences. It's basically meeting the Pope.
Yeah, let's see what else he said.
A tight end, an offensive lineman. I don't care. I don't care.
Doesn't care.
But if you are a quarterback and you have your once a week podium discussion and the organization and the Philadelphia Eagles are brilliantly owned, respectfully built, smartly designed, and you have the Eagles banner behind you with a major corporate sponsor, Toyota, behind you.
Right.
And you're telling me this, for a $5 billion face of the franchise, is no different than this. I think you're wrong. I'll totally double down. Let me speak slowly.
Please do.
Time matters. Location matters. Assignment. Let me give you a person. I don't know him. He's very popular on the interweb. His name is Dave Portnoy. He created Barstool Sports. He's very edgy, can be very, very funny. He's very talented. Yeah. Barstool Sports attacked me yesterday. Very hurtful. This is... I've got children. You have to be nicer to me. They just ravaged me yesterday. So Dave Portnoy is this very raw, Hawaiian shirts, sometimes no shirts, authentic, in your face. I don't care about anybody. It's very effective. Than you. But it is interesting that a month ago he interviewed the president and he wore a suit. And he was a real professional.
Because he was meeting the president?
He was respectful. Yeah. And he didn't swear.
Because he was meeting the president.
Did Carson Wentz swear?
Assignment matters.
Carson Wentz meeting the president?
Location matters. No. Time matters.
Press.
Most of you won't be as successful as Carson Wentz or Dave So maybe you just don't get it.
Right. We don't
But
get
when
it.
you stand in front as the face of the franchise, don't care if you're Ken Griffey, you're a baseball player. What do I care? I don't care if you're a hockey guy. I don't care if you're in your yard, your gym, a bar, on a date. I don't care if you wear your hat on backwards. I don't care. I've worn it in my garage. I've worn it in my yard. But on that weekly podium, you are standing in front of the logo, a major spot. Do you know how much you have to pay?
I've heard enough.
Yeah.
I've heard enough of this. First of all, the double standard with the Russell Wilson bullshit.
Yeah.
How does that make any sense?
I lost sleep over it.
Yeah, which obviously he's just trying to be funny at this point. But like, it's just, it comes off really cringy. And then also, first of all, using the Dave Portnoy comparison, when you're talking about Dave Portnoy visiting the president of the United States, little different than going to a weekly podium for your team to answer questions. There's definitely a difference. First of all, the press conference, whether you have a backwards hat or not, it doesn't matter.
No.
You're just answering questions for the media so that they can spin an article out of it.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing. And they do it every single week. What's the compared to how many times have you met the president? How many times do you think
Once.
Dave Portnoy will meet the president?
Once
or twice.
It's
Unless if it's like Dave Portnoy, I think he's buddies with Trump, so he probably met Trump a couple times. But that's
Yeah.
a different situation and definitely a different circumstance. But like if, say, Nick Wright was invited to meet Joe Biden, you think he's going to wear a backwards hat? No. Why? Because you're meeting the president of the United States.
Yeah.
And then he used the Pope as an example. I'm like, dude, the Pope.
Who cares?
It's like, dude, I don't understand what the big deal about wearing a backwards hat in a game does or during a press conference and why it doesn't matter. Why it's different with a quarterback of the NFL franchise compared to the face of an MLB franchise, which is still $1 billion franchise, which is still hundreds of millions of people will reach.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you saying, bro?
The fact that this is a 6-minute video where he's going on like Carson Wentz wear a hat, like, and then he puts a hat on, like, see, I would never do this. And then he like talks about Dave Portnoy, and then he ages himself. He's like, oh, he's someone on the interwebs. Like, well, this person on the interwebs happens to be a lot more successful than you. He started his own company. He's not beholden to the overlords at Fox and advertisers. So yeah, he paved his own path so he can be raw and rambunctious because he owns his own company. So you can't cancel him because of that. And then Colin's kind of just like, oh, well, Dave Portnoy, he even wore a suit. This was Dave Portnoy's first interview. It was like his first professional sit-down interview, and then he talked about it. It's like, of course, when you meet the president, Carson Wentz isn't going to wear a backwards hat if he meets the president. He's like, I'm talking to a bunch of bozos who's like, Carson, what's it like to suck? And then he's like, well, I don't think I suck. I think we have a lot of room to get better. And, you know, I'm just trying to forget that I have to be here and get through this press conference, the worst part of my week. But it's like, but are you sure it doesn't suck to suck? Like, that's what he's dealing with. And I would wear a backwards hat too. I don't see a problem.
I feel like
so
it's
dumb.
more casual for a press conference than it is for a lot of circumstances.
Yeah.
Unless if it's a post-game conference, right? If you want to really argue it, like if you're just having a weekly press conference and they're just like, how do you feel, Justin Jefferson? Do you think you should be the MVP?
Yeah. Bill Belichick
Okay.
dresses like a homeless man.
Yeah. And honestly, if you take the hat off, what do you see him wearing? He's wearing a fucking athletic t-shirt.
Yeah.
Why is he not wearing a suit? You know why? Because it's a fucking press conference and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
No.
So no, this is ridiculous. Colin Cowherd's ridiculous. So
I don't get who that take is for. It's like you have some young people who you're turning off any young person who's going to listen to you. They're going to be like, this is the cringiest, dumbest thing I've seen, because young people, they're like, if you're rich, that is more of a thing where you can do whatever you want when you get millions of dollars to play a game. It's
Yeah.
a violent game and it's a tough game, but he gets millions of dollars to play a game. Of course he can wear a backwards hat. And then it's like, are you doing this for your older audience? And they're like, yeah, he shouldn't wear a backwards hat. It's like not really appealing to anyone. And it's a weird comparison why you would compare Carson Wentz to Dave Portnoy. as well. It's one of those analogies. He just has this thing where he's like, the Seahawks are like Starbucks and the Steelers are like Dunkin' Donuts. And you're like, wait, what are you? Where'd we go, Colin?
Yeah, he loves his analogies.
But on to some games. We have the Thursday night game. Excited for this game. We have the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Nashville, taking on the